It started with a painting and ended with war. No one warned her that a single brushstroke could cost her everything. Not her house, not her freedom, not her name. But when she dared to hang one handmade painting on her porch, she triggered the wrath of a ruthless HOA queenpin. What followed was not eviction, it was an execution. And no one saw what she'd do next. She didn't think twice when she placed it outside the painting, a sun-washed memory titled Sky of My Childhood. A watercolor of warmth and gold, lovingly brushed onto canvas beneath the creaking porch of her grandmother's old Victorian home. But in the eyes of the Orchard Heights Homeowners Association, it wasn't art, it was a crime scene. Aesthetic terrorism, they whispered. Within weeks, it spiraled. 17 violations, each more absurd than the last. They stacked like bricks until the law snapped shut like a steel trap. And so, on a gray morning soaked in cold rain and even colder stares, she stood surrounded by the corpses of her life. Soggy bookshelves leaning like broken soldiers, picture frames crushed under careless boots, quilts hand-stitched by her grandmother now sinking into oily puddles. Liv Maddox, 31, stood barefoot on the curb, rain dripping from her copper hair, hazel eyes locked on the ruin of her inheritance. Deputies loaded her belongings into a truck like debris from a condemned building. Their radios crackled, their expressions bored. Presiding over it all like a queen of decay was Danica Marlowe, 53, president of the HOA, untouched by the storm beneath a leopard print umbrella. Her silver bob was impervious. Her eyes sparkled with venom. "This is a premium neighborhood," she said with the sweetness of arsenic, "not a junkyard for failed art teachers." And just like that, Liv lost her home, her dignity, her identity. She became invisible in a town that once smiled at her in farmers markets and PTA meetings. Until the day she returned with a revenge plan so precise it was sliced through Orchard Heights like a guillotine. Rain beat down on Magnolia Lane. The lavender shutters of the Victorian trembled as if they sensed her absence. Liv stood like a statue, eyes brimming with quiet fury, soaked to the bone. A teenager across the street, Max Bellamy, 17, snickered behind his phone camera. "She got booted for coloring like a kindergartner," he jeered, recording it for TikTok. The video exploded, shared in secret HOA group chats, smothered in laughing emojis and cruel commentary. Liv's heart fractured, but her lips stayed shut. Her mind, not silent. "They're stealing my soul, my sanctuary, my story." That was the day she vanished from the town's memory and began writing a new chapter in ink darker than night. And yes, all this because of a painting. A single artwork she made by hand. A vibrant swirl of sky and cloud that reminded her of lemonade summers with her grandmother, Miriam. They labeled it aesthetic pollution. 17 citations became a weapon, used legally to seize her property. No one warned her this could happen. No one told her she could be erased. But they would remember her soon enough. A decade passed. Then came the storm knot, just the thunderous clouds over Magnolia Lane, but the storm Liv brought in her trunk. As the rain returned, so did she, clutching a warped sketchbook in one trembling hand. Her car door creaked open like a ghost, re-entering its grave. Curtains parted, faces peeked from expensive windows, some with smirks, others hollow-eyed with denial. Nadine Brody, 39, boutique owner and HOA gossip queen, muttered to her husband, "She did this to herself." Her teen daughter Zoe giggled. Her house looked like a craft fair, exploded. Liv's hazel eyes didn't water. They shimmered. Not with sadness, but with steel. "They think I'm broken? Cute." She gathered what little she could. A few warped canvases, a cracked teacup, a photo of Miriam. Everything else was gone. A foreclosure notice nailed to her door thudded like a nail in a coffin. Danica sipped coffee from her monogrammed tumbler. Her smirk was surgical. Max's video climbed to 2 million views. The caption, "Local art leech gets evicted, finally." Liv drove away with her past shrinking in the rear view, the house swallowed by rain. Her inner voice didn't wail. It promised, "I'll remember every laugh, every whisper, every look. And I'll answer them one by one." You're furious, aren't you? You should be. What they did to Harriet's not just wrong, it's criminal in a way no court recognizes. This wasn't just losing a home, it was an execution in broad daylight, and she had to watch it in silence, penniless, orphaned, unseen. She lived in her car now, backseat as mattress, breath fogging up the windows. By day, she sketched strangers on sidewalks downtown, her fingers black with charcoal, her pride battered but unbeaten. By night, she scrubbed dishes in a greasy diner near the subway, harsh fluorescence turning her auburn hair a tired copper. The city, once her muse, had become a cage. Her paintings hid in her trunk, guarded like treasure. The only thing she still allowed herself to hold, Miriam's chipped teacup. She never raged, never shouted, but inside her, a ledger filled. Danika's smirk, Max's cruel laughter, Nadine's whisper, Zoe's giggle. Each one entered the archive of her memory like marked targets. Under the streetlight, she'd sketch her grandmother's face again and again, her inner voice steady, I'm invisible, but not for long. She could still hear Miriam's voice soft like falling leaves. Your art is your truth, Liv. If you lose that, they win. That voice kept her upright. That fire, quiet but unshakable, would become her weapon. Orchard Heights was a fortress of manicured lies, perfect lawns snipped to exactly 3 centimeters, roses imported from Italy, driveways polished for Teslas, Bentleys, or better. Liv had never belonged. She was a high school art teacher, not a trophy wife. She walked to work. She planted wildflowers. Her inherited Victorian home had ivy on the railings and lavender shutters, sun-faded and stubborn. She told her students beauty existed in flaws. Her paintings whispered rebellion. And the last piece she ever hung, The Sky of My Childhood, was her heart on a canvas. Golden skies and memory-rich clouds, summers with Miriam and lemonade afternoons. That painting her soul was the trigger. And you're still here because you feel it, don't you? That ache, that beauty, that quiet refusal to kneel. Danica Marlowe ruled the neighborhood like a pharaoh in yoga pants. Control wasn't just her habit, it was her addiction. Her inner monologue was a cold blade. This girl is a defect. I'll delete her. At 53, her silver bob never moved out of place. Her eyes could freeze ponds. Her house, pure marble and menace. At an HOA meeting that smelled of wine and Botox, Danica stood at the podium like a tyrant with a clipboard. The painting on Magnolia Lane, she announced, is destroying our property values. A chorus of nods followed. Sterling Vaughn, 61, a retired finance bro obsessed with golf carts, laughed. Looks like my grandson had an accident on paper. Tammy Claiborne, 46, realtor and part-time puppet, added, we can't have the neighborhood looking like an art school dumpster. Liv had been summoned to defend herself. She wore a linen dress, hair tied back, voice calm. It's my art, my house, my history. Danica smiled like a wolf. Your house was a privilege, Miss Maddox, not a right. Comply or lose it. Liv said nothing, just stared. Her silence wasn't surrender, it was surveillance. Inside, she was recording everything, brick by brick, word by word, and one day, those bricks would bury them all. Orchard Heights Community Center buzzed with tension, the air thick with perfume, polyester, and judgment. Danica returned to the podium. The meeting was packed, and the war, it had only just begun. Liv Maddox's disrespect for community standards is a direct threat to our neighborhood's value, Danica Marlowe declared, clicking through a slideshow that framed Liv's quaint Victorian as a monstrosity. Her wildflowers were labeled as invasive weeds. Her beloved painting, Sky of My Childhood, twisted into a graffiti joke. Murmurs swept the crowd, some approving, others unsure. Sterling Vaughn rose, voice like thunder. She's a financial liability, a risk to all our investments. Meanwhile, Tammy Claiborne glided through the aisles, handing out glossy flyers featuring a warped photo of Liv under the headline, The Eyesore Next Door. In the back row, Liv sat motionless. Her linen dress felt like armor made of wet sand. Greg Palmer, 50, tech exec and HOA puppet, leaned toward a neighbor and whispered, she doesn't belong here. Nearby, Zoe Brody snickered beside Max, who kept filming. Her art's a meme, Zoe laughed. Liv's hands clenched. Her hazel eyes didn't blink. Her inner voice burned. They're rewriting the story so they can steal the ending. The crowd's energy twisted a toxic blend of cruelty and cowardice. But something else stirred beneath it. You feel it, don't you? That slow awakening of fury, that sense that this has gone far beyond property lines and porch lights. The citations had rained like arrows, 17 in 3 months. One for her painting, another for wildflowers, one for her mailbox, which hadn't been pre-approved. Even her porch light's wattage had been deemed offensive. It was relentless. And it came when she was already drowning on unpaid leave from teaching, nursing Miriam in her final days, hemorrhaging savings on hospital bills. Danica knew and pushed harder. Every letter from the HOA came laced with venom. Compliance is respect. Non-compliance is a problem. Desperate to keep her home, Liv applied for a part-time curator job at the Evermont Gallery. She curated her portfolio with care. Her resume glowed. The owner, Beatrix Wells, 56, had once praised Liv's work, but Beatrix was also Susan's bridge partner. Liv arrived in a freshly ironed dress, hope flickering behind her eyes, but Beatrix's tone was sharp. With an eviction record, can you manage responsibility? Liv hesitated, sensing the trap. Days later, Susan and Beatrix shared coffee at a bistro downtown. Susan leaned in, all sugar and poison. She's too unstable. You wouldn't want her ruining your brand. Beatrix nodded. The offer vanished. Liv read the rejection alone in her car, her fingers trembling. Her inner voice splintered. They're not just taking my house, they're assassinating my future. Your gut twists, doesn't it? Because this is more than sabotage. It's a public crucifixion masquerading as civic order. She tried to fight. She showed up at HOA meetings, presenting carefully worded appeals. The board laughed. Sterling dubbed her the Bohemian nuisance. Tammy leaned into Susan, whispering, "Should we start a GoFundMe for her next meltdown?" One evening, Liv returned home to find her painting slashed with blue paint across the canvas, trash in bold, black letters. The culprits? Max and Zoe, egged on by Ethan. Their giggles echoed through the dark like a twisted lullaby. Ethan posted the vandalism video. Rosewood's elite shared it with smug emojis. Liv stared at the destroyed canvas, fingertips tracing the damage. Her inner voice didn't cry. It whispered, "They're crafting a fiction, carving a villain out of me to justify their greed." A week later, Liv was watering her wildflowers, unaware of the organized ambush marching up her gate. Clipboard-wielding neighbors led by Nadine Brody swarmed her front yard. Faces smug, Nadine held a petition, "Restore Orchard Heights prestige." It demanded Liv remove her art and realign her property with community norms or face immediate expulsion. "Just trying to protect our investment, sweetie," Nadine cooed. Greg chimed in, "Your house is killing property value." Zoe handed out pens. Max filmed again. Liv's expression shocked, disbelieving became the thumbnail. 47 neighbors signed that petition. Danica pinned it to the HOA board like a trophy. Liv found it the next morning, her name buried beneath words like irresponsible, unfit, unstable. Her chest tightened. Her hands shook. Her inner voice cracked. "They're not just stealing my house. They're deleting me. And you feel it too. That knot in your gut, that boiling injustice." Because this isn't about a painting. It's about a mob with rules as their weapon and malice as their motive. But Danica's hatred ran deeper. Years ago, she'd butted heads with Miriam. Miriam had refused to trim her garden or install uniform lighting. Danica had hated her for it. Liv's art was a reminder of that rebellion. Her inner monologue hissed, "I should have broken the grandmother. I'll crush the granddaughter instead." She convened a secret HOA board meeting. Liv wasn't invited. The agenda? Seize her home. The reason? Unpaid fines and irreparable aesthetic damage. Sterling pushed the motion. Karen promised him a tax write-off for his new dock. Tammy seconded it. She wanted the listing commission. Nadine nodded, lips tight. The vote? Unanimous. At the Rosehaven Gala for a new community fountain, Liv showed up anyway. She needed a miracle. Fairy lights dangled from trees. Wine flowed. Laughter echoed. And then Danica took the mic. Her voice like lace dipped in venom. "Let's toast to those who uphold our values," she said. "Unlike certain people." The crowd's laughter was a dagger. Sterling raised his glass. To property values, he boomed. Nadine handed out raffle tickets with a whisper. She's the one with that ugly painting. Max and Zoe staged a fake art auction. They held up crayon scribbles labeled, Liv's Masterpiece. Laughter erupted. Phones recorded. Liv stood frozen in a white dress that now felt like a burial shroud. Her eyes glowed not with tears, but fire. They've made my grief their comedy. That was the moment the mask cracked. Liv's life unraveled completely. Her car broke down, she found herself in a shelter, her paintings hidden beneath her cot, wrapped in plastic. At night, she stared at ceilings. During the day, she taught free art classes to the children of other displaced women. That betrayal, quiet and intimate, was worse than vandalism, worse than eviction. It told her, you're truly alone, and you watching feel it. The rage, the heartbreak, the suffocating noose of this HOA's control. Every act of kindness poison, every chance sabotaged. She applied for a new apartment, rejected. Eviction record, the landlord said, without eye contact. She submitted paintings to 3 galleries. One responded, we don't display street art. That's what they called it, now street art. As if her work were graffiti, not memory. As if her truth no longer counted. But Liv didn't break. Not yet. Because inside her, something darker had begun to stir. Her silence wasn't surrender, it was a vow. Liv Maddox didn't yell. She didn't beg. She watched, remembered, and let every rejection burn into fuel. Her inner voice, steady as a drumbeat. Every closed door is another nail in their coffin. And you're still rooting for her, right? That fire inside her? That relentless hum of survival? It's her heartbeat now. Then came the storm that turned everything. It was 2016. A hurricane night in Brooklyn, the streets gleaming with rain. Outside the diner where Liv scrubbed dishes, tires screamed. A luxury sedan spun out and flipped into a ditch. Smoke poured from the hood. A scream cut through thunder. Liv didn't think. She dropped her rag, ran into the storm, and crawled through glass. Her hands sliced open as she pulled the unconscious driver from the wreckage. His name was Nolan Grayson, 34. A real estate wunderkind left for dead by his own business partners, who had sabotaged his brakes to take control of the firm. She dragged him into shelter, cleaned his wounds, fed him soup in a rundown motel room. Nolan's dark eyes never left her face. Why help someone you don't know? He asked. Her voice was a whisper. Because I know what it feels like to be left behind. Nolan watched her, and something shifted. She's not broken, he thought. She's built different. That night changed him. He never forgot her. When he recovered, he offered her a position not out of pity, but respect. She became his assistant at a small real estate startup trying to rebuild from ashes. Liv took it quietly, never flaunting her ideas, but her mind lit up like city lights. She read every urban design book she could find, noticed flaws in Nolan's early blueprints. You're designing for profit, she said. What if we built places that feel like home instead of control? No HOAs, no evictions for growing the wrong flowers. Nolan blinked. Saturday back. You're not an assistant, he said. You're my partner. Liv laid out her vision. Symbiotic living districts. Inclusive, purposeful, designed for connection, not compliance. Every lesson from Orchard Heights, the pettiness, the cruelty, the exiles she channeled into blueprints with soul. She sketched late into the night. Her paintings filled the walls of their tiny Brooklyn office. And by 2019, their company Everhart Urban had exploded. Boston, Philly, New York. Their communities didn't just look beautiful, they lived beautifully. Liv, now 33, was Everhart's architect in every sense. She wore simple linen dresses, her auburn hair always slightly unruly, but her eyes, they cut through concrete. Her inner voice transformed. I was their target. Now I'm their reckoning. In 2023, she took the stage at the National Housing Summit in Boston. Sleek navy suit, auburn hair pinned in a smooth twist. Her keynote unveiled the future. Districts without gatekeeping. Cities without punishment for being different. She named names without naming. Communities that prioritize appearance over humanity, she said, collapse from the inside out. Urban planners, investors, activists erupted in applause. A rival developer leaned to another and asked, "Who is she?" Liv's inner voice buzzed. "They think I'm new, but I've been here all along, watching." She ignored the after-parties, declined the interviews, let the mystery grow. Industry blogs dubbed her the visionary of human-centric housing. You're proud of her, aren't you? You should be. From a drenched eviction to this radiant resurgences, she didn't just survive, she rose. But Liv's mind never left the street she was exiled from. She drove past Magnolia Lane in silence, saw Danika's towering mansion, Sterling's yacht docked nearby, Tammy's grinning face on local real estate signs, Ethan's smug smirk over espresso, Nadine's boutique window, Zoe's art school bumper sticker, each site kindling. In 2020, she began, quiet, surgical. With Nolan's backing, she used offshore trusts to buy up Orchard Heights properties, one by one. Mortgage debt, development bonds, titles, always through shell companies, untraceable. She left 5 homes untouched, including Dan Caso. They wouldn't suspect a thing. False comfort was her sharpest tool. In 2024, she made her move. Through a proxy firm, she purchased a bond the HOA desperately needed to fund aesthetic upgrades. Danica herself promoted it. "It's our legacy," she beamed at the meeting. Liv, behind the curtain, smiled. Her proxy outbid every contender. The bond passed. The community's future now financially tethered to Liv's empire. At a closed HOA session, Danica seethed, her emerald eyes cold with suspicion, but she never saw the blade coming. In Manhattan, Liv reviewed the final transfer. Her inner voice, glacial. "You built this kingdom on my pain. Now I hold the deed." The bond money quietly flowed into Liv's new housing projects, siphoning strength from the HOA while feeding her vision. She had the power. But that wasn't enough. The wounds ran deeper than deeds. So she turned to the psychological battlefield. She sent anonymous gifts. To Danica, a framed photograph of Liv's soaked, discarded belongings. No note. To Sterling, a miniature yacht model, foreclosed, engraved beneath it. To Tammy, a fake eviction notice. To Ethan, a cracked phone screen, exactly like the one from his viral video. To Nadine, a dead rose in a branded envelope from her boutique. To Zoe, a sketch defaced in the same way she'd vandalized Liv's painting trash scrawled across it. None of them suspected. Their pride shielded them from the truth. Danica chuckled. Some prankster, nothing more. Liv's silence hummed. You'll know soon. Meanwhile, her investigators dug deep. Danica's tax fraud, Sterling's offshore embezzlement, Tammy's bribery trail, Ethan's crypto scams, Nadine's fabricated HOA citations, Zoe's juvenile record, sealed but not forgotten. By November 2025, the final move began. Invitations arrived on ivory cardstock. You are cordially invited to the unveiling of Orchard Heights 2.0, a community reborn, a legacy reimagined. Inside the HOA clubhouse, chandeliers sparkled, pastel blazers and pearls shimmered under stage lights. Danica greeted guests, smile tight. Sterling looked sunburned and tired. Tammy fidgeted with her pearls. Ethan scrolled endlessly. Nadine and Zoe whispered about property values. The lights dimmed. A projector flickered. First, Camille Maddox's eviction footage. Her drenched belongings. Her destroyed painting. Danica's sneer. Art leech. Ethan's viral video. Zoe's paint-splashed hate. Gasps rippled. Eyes widened. Then the double doors opened. Liv stepped in, black dress, high bun, hazel eyes blazing. She carried a single item, the sky of my childhood, restored, reframed, its edges gilded with 24-karat gold. She walked to the podium, placed the painting down, took the microphone. Her voice didn't tremble. I'm Liv Maddox, she said, the woman you evicted over a watercolor. I own Orchard Heights, and I'm here to take out the trash. The room stopped breathing. She lifted a folder. Her voice sliced the air. I own 92% of your properties and your mortgage debt. This HOA is dissolved. Danacare House, I own your loan. Evicted by noon. Danica staggered back, her cream blazer suddenly a straitjacket. Sterling dropped his glass. Tammy looked like she'd swallowed poison. Ethan opened his mouth. Nothing came out. And you? You're cheering, aren't you? That moment, that reckoning, it's a supernova. And Liv Maddox isn't done. To Sterling, your yacht's been seized. I own the debt. Liv Maddox's voice echoed through the ballroom. Sterling gasped, face draining. His empire dust. To Tammy, your realtor license is suspended, pending my fraud investigation. Her pastel earrings quivered. Her charm disintegrated. To Ethan, your employment terminated. I'm the bank's majority client. His phone slipped from his hand. The golden boy cracked. At the Orchard Heights 2.0 unveiling, after Liv's reveal shattered the room, she turned to Tammy, who stood trembling, breath shallow, fingers twitching. Tammy, Liv said, her voice sharpened by silence and years of scars. You sold my home for a kickback. Let's show them how. The projector shifted. HOA documents filled the screen, falsified reports, exaggerated violations, illegally inflated fines, kickback trails, Tammy's signature on every line. Gasps echoed. Dozens of phones rose to record the downfall. An investor stood. She's a con artist. Tammy's inner voice spiraled. I was untouchable. I was Rosehaven. Liv's eyes pinned her like a blade. You'll never sell another home again. And just like that, Tammy's kingdom collapsed. Her license revoked. Her listings pulled. Her name poison. To Nadine, your boutique foreclosed. I own the lien. Nadine's cheeks burned, her judgment laid bare. To Zoe, your internship at the gallery canceled. I fund the program. Zoe's smirk withered. Her cruelty recoiled into silence. The screen lit up again, brighter and harsher evidence exposed for all to see. Danica's tax fraud, Sterling's offshore shell games, Tammy's illegal commissions, Ethan's insider trading, Nadine's falsified reports, Zoe's documented vandalism. And then they came. FBI agents in dark suits entered the room, badges gleaming. Words like fraud, theft, conspiracy rang out. Cameras flashed, handcuffs clicked. The audience erupted not in panic, but applause. The mighty had fallen, and Liv, she didn't flinch. The next morning, Danica stood on her lawn, mascara streaked, watching as movers tossed her designer furniture into a rusted truck. Her mortgage owned by Livid been called in. Neighbors peeked from windows but said nothing. Liv held their debt too. Their loyalty had an owner now. Sterling's yacht, gone. His accounts, frozen. Tammy's face vanished from every listing. Her career, extinct. Nadine's boutique padlocked. Her pride dissolved. And in a Manhattan courtroom in early 2026, Ethan, now 26, stripped of his status, sat trembling as prosecutors laid bare his crimes. Liv, dressed in black, her auburn hair catching courtroom light like fire, sat in the gallery. She didn't blink. Her beauty wasn't decoration, it was armor. The prosecutor played Ethan's old video, her eviction side by side with his illegal trades. The jury audibly gasped. Ethan's lawyer stuttered it was a joke, but nothing could stop the avalanche. Liv's inner voice was stone. You laughed at my ruin. Now the world laughs at yours. Ethan was sentenced to 5 years. Cameras flashed, applause erupted, and his future burnt to ash. Zoe's art dreams? Over. Her reputation sank beneath the weight of what she'd mocked. Liv didn't just get even, she rewrote the ending. Orchard Heights became something new. Not a cage. Not a curated illusion. Liv transformed it into a free-living creative sanctuary open to artists, to women denied housing, to people with disabilities crushed by systems. She rehung the sky of my childhood at the entrance gate. A brass plaque read, "This painting cost me my home. Now it guards the place where no one is punished for being themselves." The new residents, diverse, vibrant, fiercely cheered her. Their applause thundered like rebirth. And you watching felt it in your chest, didn't you? That roar, that transformation, is wildfire. And it doesn't stop here. Liv appeared on the cover of Time, black dress, hair coiled, hazel eyes unflinching. The headline, "From Target to Titan, the woman who redefined housing in America." She never screamed. She never begged. She outthought them, outlasted them, and in 2027, she stepped onto a UN stage in Geneva, raven hair gleaming, a white suit crisp as new dawn, hazel eyes soft but unyielding. She announced a $500 million fund to build inclusive communities worldwide inspired by the fall of Orchard Heights. The audience rose to their feet. Diplomats, activists, survivors. A refugee artist, weeping, handed Liv a canvas. "You made space for people like me," she whispered. Liv's inner voice echoed through the world. "They tried to erase me. Now I'm drawing the blueprint for everyone." Media across the globe crowned her, the artist who rebuilt home. You feel that pride, don't you? That final surge? The satisfaction is complete. Not because Liv won, but because she never stopped believing in the world she could build. She remembered every smirk, every laugh, every cruel comment, every nailed eviction notice. She carried them like stones and built a foundation with them. Her final reflection: "They took my house. I built a world. Orchard Heights, the cage they forged for her, became her canvas. Her painting? Its heart." One final memory of Miriam's voice: "Your art is your strength, Liv." She walked through the new neighborhood, wildflowers swaying in the breeze, children painting murals on brick walls, their joy unfiltered. And Liv? She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Her silence was a throne. And your pride? It soars, doesn't it? Because this isn't just a story of revenge. It's the story of permanence. If this story left you stunned, hit like. Share it with someone who's ever been underestimated. Comment below. What would you have done in Liv's place? Subscribe for more stories where the quiet ones rise and remind the world. Sometimes revenge isn't loud. It's legacy.